Welcome everybody to the Every Story Counts podcast. Today we have with us Ciaran. Ciaran's lived a bit of a wild life, from drug problems to numerous prison sentences, from armed police pointing guns at him. He's done all sorts. We get into the problems that he's faced, the things that he's overcome, and the journey that he's on now with his fitness to changing his life and being successful. So sit back, grab a beer and enjoy. Welcome everybody to the first episode of the Every Story Counts podcast. Today on the show we have Ciaran Angell. First episode, so thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, pal.
No worries. Ciaran's lived a bit of a wild life, to say the least. Problems with drugs, numerous prison sentences. Today, sitting here in front of me, heavily focused on his fitness, keeping his head down, staying on the right path, which is brilliant to see. So where I'd like to start with your story, Ciaran, is I'd like to talk about your childhood. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, what it was like growing up.
Childhood was pretty good, to be fair. I come from a good family. Mum was great. I've got a sister. I had a really good childhood, to be honest. I couldn't really say I had a rough childhood, because I didn't.
I remember, obviously for us, we played rugby, didn't we, from a young age?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And was that your dad that was coming to watch? Was it your stepdad?
My stepdad, yeah. We had a bit of a rocky relationship.
Right.
I wouldn't say I was a beaten child, but there was some violence towards sort of the end and stuff like that. But I never used that as a reason as to why things turned out like they did.
So do you not think that affected you at all growing up? Did that have no
Maybe
effect?
subconsciously it did, but I would never pinpoint that as a reason. I give you a specific reason as to why things happen like they did. I'd be lying if I said I did.
How much of a strain has the problems that you've had regarding drugs, regarding prison sentences? How much of a strain has that put on your family, the relationship with them?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, to be fair to my mother, none of my family are criminals. Like I say, I come from a good family. They work hard for everything they've got. So for me to turn out like it did, I guess must have been a bit disappointing. But credit to my mother, grandma, sister, everyone stood by me for my sentences, and they never sort of passed judgment. And so, I mean, Mum knew what I was doing. It wasn't a secret. I guess she just didn't really understand the sort of severity of some of the things that I have done or was doing at the time. So, but yeah, I can't knock any of them, because I think now would be different. I don't know if they would stand by me, because I've made these big changes. I think it would be devastating to everyone if something happened. You know what I mean?
Do you know as well? Obviously, you've got a daughter, haven't you?
Yeah.
So when you think of it, I've obviously got kids as well. So when you think of it, of how hard it must be for your family, and you look at your daughter now, and then I've obviously got a son, I've got a daughter, and you look and thinking how hard it must be as a parent to see your child going down that path, and there's nothing you can do something about it.
Do you know what? It must be hard to see that, but I guess it wasn't ever meant to be like that for me. I thought my memory's so faded from it all, probably from all the drugs I've taken, or drink drugs. No, honestly, I couldn't remember a point where I thought, right, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to sell drugs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I had a great job. I had an apprenticeship as an engineer at Nestle. I had the world at my feet, really. My partner was pregnant at the time. I think an opportunity presented itself to me by chance through people she knew. Doorman from out of town. Kind of just snowballed from a conversation into me taking thousands of pills and just breaking them down into hundreds. And I honestly didn't probably know myself. I knew what I was doing was illegal. I'm thinking, you live in a bubble. I've never been caught for anything. I had a few after arrest, but never anything that would warrant any jail time. So I thought maybe I was just naive. I thought I'd never get caught. I mean, when I got caught, it just shows how stupid I was. I was on an iPhone. There was 7,000 messages pulled.
Do you know what though?
Yeah.
We obviously went to school together as well. So at school, you always had a lot of potential. You were always clever.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people look at criminals like they're stupid.
Oh man.
You would always had a lot of ambition, and you always had a lot of potential. So the route that you went down after school, to go down that route, was not really a route that I thought you'd go down. What was it a case of? How long would you say after school was it that you started going down that route?
Do you know what? You know me from school. I was a bit of a geek, to be honest. I mean, I was still one of the lads and stuff like that. But like you say, I was pretty smart. If I'd applied myself at school, I could have done anything I wanted. But from leaving school, I think going to college and being around certain things, I was smoking weed a lot, and then obviously that was the time when MCAT became big, and we was taking MCAT. and like was buying, like, it was cheap, it was legal, it got made illegal, but we was buying massive quantities for pennies. And I guess like from there, I was around it, and it was normalised to me. To me, it was just normal. Do you know what I mean? So that maybe I justified it in my head as like, well, everyone else is doing it.
So when that was going on, sort of the days when we think of the stuff with the MCAT and stuff, like, I know that was obviously flying about everywhere.
Everyone.
Was you already down that line of thinking, how can I make money? Or was it a case of thinking,
no,
listen, I was just enjoying this sort of party.
I was just loving it. And then obviously I met a few older kids. I mean, I met a fella. We was really close. He was a lot older than me. I looked up to him. He was a big, like, at that age, seen a big man full of steroids, you know. Now I look at him totally different, because things transpired differently down the line.
Like a role model sort of thing at the time.
Yeah.
Wrong sort of role model that you're looking up to.
Exactly, but I mean, down the line it transpired that something happened to him anyway, and you know, like, we'll get onto that later. But you know, at the time I looked up to this man. He was saying this, you know, trying to show me the ropes, if you will. Show me the wrong way.
Apprenticeship.
Yeah, but show me the wrong way. But like, obviously, you put my own spin on things, and then conversations happened, and then, I mean, I sort of tapped into that student market, because I was at that young age. I was going to college, and then left college, but I still had people who was at college, so I could tap into that market for the higher price point. The pills just sell, and you was making, you know, I was getting 1,000 for cheap, and I was selling 100 for 400 quid plus, and like, you're pulling silly money off that.
So was that when, obviously you said about working at Nestle, didn't you?
Yeah, I was doing
anybody who doesn't know, Nestle is a really good company to work for in York.
Yeah.
Really good company to work for. So what age did you go to Nestle?
I left school and got the apprenticeship 20... When did I leave school? 2009?
Yes, well,
yeah.
it's just pretty quick after
I went from school. I was I got knocked back initially, and then I got a call a few weeks before the apprenticeship was due to start. Someone's dropped out. Would you like to do this?
So you had all the opportunity in the world.
Yeah,
going there to do great things, and a lot of people at that time they'd got a great job, great money, good money that you were doing.
Yeah.
Was it engineering?
Engineer? Yeah, I did a multi-skilled engineers, but well, fuck that one up, didn't we?
But then at that point you're there. Yep. So you've got a great job, but then at the same time, you're getting off your head and things like that.
Yeah, to be fair, I had more than enough opportunity. Anyone that works there with me will testify to this. I don't know how I got through that without getting fired. I think because of the company being so large, the HR department take a view of like looking after you, sort of thing. Like I was not turning up for days. And obviously then I said, oh, I'm bad with the drugs, and they were saying, oh, we'll do drugs testing, and I was failing drugs testing. I was getting warnings, and you do any other job, you should be gone. But they've got a culture of sort of like, you know, a lot of red tape around things. I should have been sacked. I should not have even got through the apprenticeship. I was dragged through it. I was dragged through that apprenticeship, and I didn't learn half the things I should have learned. And today, like, I don't know the first thing about engineering. I think my brain's fried from it.
There's not many companies nowadays that would actually support you like that as well.
There's not many companies that set me on. I mean, I was released from prison. I can't remember what sentence it was from, but I got offered a job at a company that makes the cans for Coca-Cola in Wakefield, and that was like 50 plus grand. I lied on my application. I just, any criminal convictions, no. I was there for about 2 weeks, and I was thinking, right, this is me. I'm good now. Don't need to do anything. I'm straight. And obviously, I got called into the office, and they said, look, it's come to light. You know, you've got criminal convictions. This is you on Google. It's in a criminal offence to falsify documents. We're going to have to ask you to be escorted off site.
How hard is it from leaving prison? Obviously, we'll get.
I remember how hard that was. I remember my mum in the car park, and I cried because I thought that was it for me, because I knew what that meant. Yeah, I knew what that meant.
It's the thing, when leaving prison, people think all about rehabilitation, don't they? But at a certain point, when you get released from prison, you see so many people nowadays. The only job they can get is going and working on a building site.
The talk of rehabilitation, I mean, there is a few companies that are getting on the bandwagon and supporting prisoners, but you know, a lot of people don't want to know if you've been to prison. But you could go to prison for anything, like, you know, it can happen to anyone. It's not just for selling drugs and stuff like that. I mean, we could drive out of here now and you could hit someone and you could go to jail for that. And does that mean you don't deserve a chance in life when you get out? Do you know? Could be a genuine, people make mistakes and go to prison. Does that mean a company should just not take you on because if you might be a better candidate than others, but because of your past, there's a prejudice, you know what I mean?
People don't want to take a chance, do they?
No, Do you know, some of these people, they're in prison, they're smart. I've met some really smart fellas, you know. I met some of the, you know, the soundest kids you'll know in prison. So I think it's wrong to cast aspersions on people and judgment, you know. I mean, there is certain types of criminals that don't deserve any chance in life. There's certain types of criminals that don't deserve to be alive, and I think we know what we're talking about. You know,
absolutely,
rapists, nonces, paedophiles, you know, they're the type of people that don't deserve to be breathing.
I agree. So obviously at this point were you getting bad on drugs? How long were you bad on drugs before you ended up getting sort of your first sentence and you started getting into trouble? Were you bang on stuff then?
Yeah, I bang at it, but I was getting quantities, so it was like I was doing the pills, and then I start getting the sniff. I was getting like, it wasn't like real sniff. It was all absolutely hammered. It was all pressed. It was all absolutely mashed to death. Yeah. But it was like I was getting 2.25 ounces, 600 quid, and I was breaking it into half grams. I had a little MGZR. Just used to drive about all night, just dropping off all night.
Bet that gives you anxiety now, don't it? Thinking all that.
Yeah, anxiety sat in the car, you know. Absolutely. I don't know. Do you know what? When you look back and think how blazing you was and stuff like that, it's a miracle. Like, I wasn't caught any sooner, to be honest.
So what age was it when you got your first sentence?
I think I was 19.
Is that how young you was?
Yeah, I was 19. And
so it was pretty quick, to be fair.
19 or 20. I'm trying to think. It was 19 or 20.
You pretty quickly started to slide, didn't you then? And what was that for? Take us back. So that day that you got caught, what had gone on that day to get caught?
I was driving back from Barnsley direction, South Yorkshire, and I was headed home. I'd been to see someone on the way back, and I was heading home, and I was on the A64, York Ring Road, and then police have come behind me unmarked, and they've lit me up. I had Asda bag of 300 pills in it.
Just like you do.
Yeah.
Do you think at that point,
I thought, fuck.
When people get caught like that, do you think that was a case of that's just pot luck from the police, or do you think that's a case
I'd get away with this? I thought I must have been going too fast, so I've stuffed them down my kegs, yeah, big bag like that, and they've asked me where I was going. I said, I've just been at the gym, and then I realised, like, he's like, where do you go to the gym? And I told him where I went to the gym, and it's the other side of York. It made no sense, but they already knew the amount of units that rocked up. They went, look, mate, we're taking you to the station for a search. Reason I believe involved in the possession of all this chat. And then obviously, when I got to the station, I dropped my kegs. As the bag up, floor pills everywhere.
How shocked were they? Or do you think they knew?
They knew, yeah.
Do you think that comes a case then of, were you getting caught for that? Was that a case of you, do you think, getting grassed up? Or do you think that's great police work?
There's no such thing as great police work. Do you know what it is? It was just intel led, because I was loud, and do you know what? I had no filter. I just thought everyone was my mate. I was 100% grass. Probably someone from Nestle used to take calls there. I was so naive, and I was so stupid to that. I was like, this was like a baptism of fire for me. This was like, yeah, you've just learnt the hard way, mate, for being so stupid. I deserved everything I got at that point.
Did it hit you pretty quick then?
Yeah, I just thought, fuck, and then I thought, I'll probably go into jail here, like, but people around me, it would, like, I now know, like, these people around me that were telling me, you won't go to jail, mate, trust me, do this. They're all grasses, mate. So of course they're thinking you're not going to go to jail, but obviously I knew in myself, you know who you are as a person. And I always thought to myself, if I did get caught, it's on me, it's not on anyone else. So look, I didn't see myself as a criminal at that point because I hadn't been to jail. But I know I won't grass. That's a lifetime of headaches, and that just shows who you are as a person if you're a rat.
I think it's about having right people around you, isn't it? I think especially for teenagers and stuff like that, it's very easy to get into the wrong crowd of people, especially these people that are older than you, and they're looking at you sort of like a little brother, and it's just do this, you'll be fine, and you're getting roped in with completely the wrong people. And it's about, loads of people haven't they? Made so many mistakes that have been younger, and then they get older and they talk about how stupid they was, they shouldn't have done that. A lot of time it's just by falling in that wrong crowd.
And do you know what? Like a lot of kids nowadays are sort of groomed into it, aren't they? But that wasn't the case for me. I kind of made my own. I made my own choices. I wasn't someone there telling you, go do this, do that, or sell that for me. I was doing it for myself. So it's my own fault. I had no one to scapegoat. Do you know what I mean? It was on me, fully on me. And
when you think about that time as well, so you think about you were obviously bang on it selling loads.
Yeah.
So you were selling loads and you were working in SLA.
Yeah.
I can imagine money wise as well, you were very flash.
Yeah, I was coining it, mate, and I had like I was driving about and just in I was only a young lad. I had an Audi, and then but I was spending that much, yeah, on getting wrecked. Like, I should have had more to show for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, the little holiday here and there, but like, really and truly, I didn't. If I had that, I don't know what I'd do now if I had that sort of money. I'd do something better. Do you know what I mean? Probably if I could get laundered, I'd buy an house. You could put a deposit down on a house. You could be on holidays all year, every year. You could have whatever you wanted. But I was spending that much going out getting wrecked. Because I'm out for 5 days non-stop, and you're just spending it and you're spending it. You had money had no value. Because I always knew there was something else coming in. So
unlimited supply of money and just going and going and going. It's just asking to be caught in it.
Yeah.
Eventually, the thing is as well,
you're not thinking straight either. You've got to think when you're off your head. You're not on point. So, and you know, like, your thought process isn't the same as it would be if you're like we are now.
You get the people as well, don't you? As in, you were saying to me, as in, the people around you are saying, "Oh, you won't get done for that. You won't get done for that." Negative people around you, but the people then when you do get caught. And then you are in the shit, the people that are there for you is your family. You have to pick up the pieces, and that's the sad reality. How did they react when you end up getting caught?
I think it was a bit of like, no one really wanted to talk about it till court came round, and then when court did come round, it was like, you might not, your barrister says this and that, and do you know, in the circumstances, I got a good touch due to like my job and lack of previous mitigation, stuff like that, me being a young lad. It did play in my favour, yeah. But ultimately I got a custodial sentence, so...
What did you get?
It was 2.5 years.
It's
not
which
bad.
you think about
Not
it,
bad.
it's not actually...
It's different now, because everyone gets done for conspiracies. This was that long ago. It was an intent to supply, which is totally different sentencing guidelines.
Conspiracy
Conspiracy to supply is, if you conspire with others, part of a large network to supply drugs, so you'd have lead role, significant role, lesser role. There's a hierarchy of people involved in the onward supply and distribution of drugs.
So is the conspiracy to supply actually worse than the
sentencing guidelines are higher for that?
The conspiracy is actually worse. So that's what they're trying to get everybody more or less on.
Yeah, that's what I've just come out for, as a conspiracy to supply. But obviously they like to throw big words about now, don't they? Organised criminal groups and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean anything, because that's not how it is.
So your first sentence, so you get that. Were you actually scared going into it?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I wore a suit for court. I would never do that now, but I wore a suit thinking I need to look good to this judge. I need to, I was thinking, because I was hearing all these people, you might not get custodial. And then I remember getting down to the holding cells. The guy saying, "You all right?" I'm saying, "Yeah, I'm sound, mate. But do us a favour, mate. Can I get changed? I need to put a tracksuit on. I can't be going to suit." I just thought, I've seen too many films. I can't be walking into jail in a suit. That's me. That's me target. Then obviously my barrister came down. He said, "Look, we did the best we could for you." I said, "No, I appreciate your help." Shook his hand. How's my family? He said, "Your girlfriend's." I remember my girlfriend at the time. I was getting taken down. She's going, "No, you can't take him. He's not had any breakfast."
So the one thing she's thinking about is breakfast before anything else.
Everyone's devastated, I've just turned everyone's lives upside down. It's not really about me. Like, they're going to... Now I know. I didn't know then, but it's not hard on us. The jail's not hard. The jail's easy, mate. Like, it's what it does to everyone else that has to be there for you out here. When you're ringing them, I need you to do this for me. Can you do that for me? Drop some money on my sheet, whatever, it's all strain on them, really. But I remember being in the holding cells, and then you sat in I was like first up that morning, so I've got to sit in that holding cell in the Victorian holding cells, just a wooden plank that you lay on like that. You just laid in this cell all day while everyone else is getting sentenced for whatever else. Then you're all put on the sweat box, and it's still not dawning on me. I'm still thinking, wow.
You still thought you were getting...
I'm not there yet, am I? I'm not actually at the jail. I'm just floating about still, and I'm just like, it didn't dawn on me. I'm at reception, and then...
It's not real.
Nah, then the door shut. You get put on the induction wing, and the door shuts. I'm with some fucking pisshead who was rattling his back out because he's an alky, and And then it's coming to like 3 a.m, and he's banging on the door, and then it's a scuffle at like 3 a.m because your head's finally gone with it. And like, you've had one night on the induction, overnight wing, they're just coming through they're coming to a flat with a torch every hour. Make sure you're not swinging, you know what I mean?
So what was your, so straight away, did you have a cellmate quite early?
Yeah, I've always been, I'm not high risk. Obviously, if you're high risk, you are in a single cell. Prisons do have single cells, so for example, in Catsea resettlement, which is around here, sort of Lindholm, that's singles. On Spur, you kind of progress to that. You're starting a double, and you work, your longest serving on the Spur gets or whoever buys one gets one. Do you know what I mean? You can get a single cell, but generally, like when you're in your Cat B locals, then you're doubled up unless you're high risk.
What was your relationship like with your first cellmate? How difficult was it as well, having to shit in the same cell with somebody there?
Do you know what? That's something you'll never. You know what? It's a bit of etiquette with it. You know, like, I'm not going to be doing it when you're having your tea, and I certainly. Do you know what it is? You'll keep it nipped in till you go on source, and then you can go out to selling it. Like, but I mean, sometimes, mate, these things don't wait, do they? Do you know what I mean? Especially in that shit in there. If it's got to go on it.
Did you get along with him?
Do you know what it is? I know him. I didn't know him at the time, but I knew his brother. He's a lad called Stevie. He's good stuff, man. He was my first cellmate on D-Wing in Hull, 2015. And he'd done a bit before, like, so I remember just feeling at ease straight away. I mean, because you come off that overnight wing, and then you're onto this wing, and everyone's out, and you're walking on with your bags, and every 4 landings, everyone's just looking down at you. You've got your burn, you've got your smokes. Obviously, back then you could smoke, and so you've got your tobacco, and everyone's hounding you straight away. And then I remember someone saying to me, just hold it down, lad. Don't be giving everyone anything. Do you know what I mean? You're getting mithered straight away. People want things off you. People at your flat, and where you from, lad? Where you from? All this chat. It can be overwhelming, and I can see why for some people it'd be daunting. But
did you see people getting manipulated in there?
Yeah, people get. You know what? I have no time for stuff like that, bro. But people do. There is sort of things that go on in jail where I don't agree with. Like, can't stand for bullies. You know what I mean? And people have been sort of victimised. But I mean, some people don't help themselves. How they go on and how they lower themselves to do out for drugs and stuff like that. So you do see the worst in people in there, but then on the same hand, you do see the best in people. You see people do good things for other people. Do you know what I mean? It's its own environment, isn't it? So you do see things that you wouldn't see out there.
Do you see much trouble in there?
Yeah, I've seen a bit. It's like, it's quite a regular occurrence, isn't it? You're putting a lot of people together, a lot in for violence, a lot from different areas. You people that know each other. You've got co-defendants. They might not be agreeing on something that's happening on trial. You know, there's all sorts of different angles going on at all times. And obviously there's the officers, isn't there?
Do the officers get much involved in stopping stuff?
Well, there's officers looking to wrap
blind eye.
Yeah, it depends what sort of jail you're in. So it's obviously some jails screws have control of, and some jails the lads have control of. So it depends what jail you're in.
I know obviously we'll come to it, obviously the rest of it, but so when you look back at that prison sentence, your first one,
yeah,
what's been the difference between, for example, staffing wise? As in, before, many years ago, there used to be a lot of experience.
Overrun. Yeah.
Now, 18-year-old females going.
SOs at 18
not knowing
years
what
old.
they're doing, can't stop.
Divvy
The
bitch.
con's well aware of how much of a liability some of these people are.
Yeah, they're not fit to be on the landings. Some of these fucking idiots. Do you know what I mean? They're not fit to be telling. How can some kid here come with it's the attitude they come with. They feel like they can talk to you a set type of way, yeah. When, in actual fact, these old boys back in the day, they'll come with a bit of respect on it. They'll have a little laugh with you. At the end of the day, yeah, it's us and them anyway. It always will be. But I'll tell you what it is, mate. Don't take the piss. You know, you're on a shower, it's bang up. Don't take the piss. Hurry up and get washed and get the fuck in your cell. Have a bit of a laugh with it. These kids nowadays, yeah, like you say, spotty faced little 21-year-olds, little bird about this big, get behind your door. Yeah. You fucking. Like, who are you? And why are you an SO after 2 or 12 months?
And there's no wonder there's problems everywhere.
No wonder they get levered. Yeah. No wonder they get absolutely levered. And you know what? It's mint because you see him with his chip on the shoulder, yeah. Then you see him getting knocked out. And you see him, then they don't work on the landings anymore.
Obviously, I worked in the prison service.
Yeah.
And I did many, many years ago now. But the difference even from when I first started, and that was in a high security prison, to me coming at the end of when I was leaving was ridiculous, and the staff leaving left, right, and centre. Because at the end of the day, you're going on to wings, and you're looking at some of these prisoners who are 6'4", you know, built like an absolute tank, and then you're looking at some of the females who's just started, who's, you know, or just done the uni degree, or coming in there and saying, "Oh God, they don't look very nice, do they?" And you're looking, thinking, you're in big bother. Some of these people are looking at them
when it goes off, and it properly goes off, and they're the ones that'll run, and they'll be screaming for staff, and there ain't no staff to come help them, and they'll have to come flying off other wings. But yeah, and then you know what? A few days later, it'll be like it never happened, and they come with this attitude. But until they get flat packed, and frankly so, because do you know what it is? We're all human beings. At the end of the day, we're already doing our punishment. You know, we're in there serving time. Yeah, so there is some lads in there that, you know, are dickheads, prisoners that are dickheads that fucking just carry on for the sake of it. But most of us are just trying to get on with things. But do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not looking to be carrying on. I want to get to the gym, mate. Do you know what I mean? I want to get on my visit.
Was you like that back then as well?
Yeah.
And obviously you're well into it now, but when you first went in, was you quite into the gym then? Was you focused on that?
No, I thought I was, because I went, but I was half-hearted. I used to bang weights and, do you know, sit on the bench and talk a bit of shit and then float, do some arms and used
10 minutes and then
jog 3 laps of the yard and think I'd run a marathon, but like, it was really this sort of, this big sentence where I've just come out. This is where I knew I was getting a long time before I was even sentenced, to be honest. I knew that were it.
So when you came out your first one, were you determined then to stay on the right path, or?
Yeah, I thought, do you know, there was a big gap in my offending. Like, I didn't go to jail then for another 3 years.
Right.
So I was out and I was working, and I was doing little bits, but I wasn't sort of like where I was sort of just, I was just doing a few bits of sniff, you know, like little half grams, you know, weekends.
Nothing involved in things.
Nah, just I wasn't hammering it like I used to. I was working legit, you know. But I never could hold the job down. I could never hold the job down. I used to go out and get pissed and not go. I could never, I wasn't interested in anything. Like, it felt like I couldn't find something I wanted to do, and if I did, I'd fuck it up. Like, and that was on me as a person. Like, I couldn't. I learned now, like, maybe it's due to like things with mental health, you know, maybe ADHD and stuff like that. And probation are working with me at the minute. We're trying to sort of get a diagnosis on that.
Do you think you had that at that time then as well?
I think I've had it most of my life, you know, upon reflection. And anyone that knows me will know like what I'm like. It's glaringly obvious.
Are you in a good place at the minute with it?
Yeah, absolutely belter. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be. That's just all down to your lifestyle and how, you know, how you live your life. I'm not one of these. I'm sober, this and that. I'm not on all that bullshit.
I'm guessing you know as well though. You are one session away from.
Well, I don't do drugs.
You stay away from it all.
I don't do drugs. I've not done any since I got out. I mean, I get tested at probation, not regularly. I mean, I've not had one in months. I think I used to test me every week. And I think they've got bored of all the negatives. Do you know what I mean? Just thought, well, he's clearly not doing it. I think they see what I'm doing out here. You can't lie to them. You're looking like shit. You know, they're gonna know what time it is. I do drink, yeah, but I haven't drank for 6 weeks now. Do you know what I mean? I don't make a habit of drinking. I've got a fitness competition in a few weeks, and so I won't drink till after then. Probably that'll be 2 months. I've done a month before my High Rocks events, 2 months before Glasgow High Rocks. Drinking is not something I have to do when I go out. I can go out and not drink.
It's not good for you mentally as well, is it?
No, and it's not good for you. It's not good for your diet, and I blow up rapid. You know.
I'm horrendous.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I'm just like, next day I feel like shit.
I have
not just a hangover, and I'm just looking at the mirror thinking, you're a horrible bastard.
2 pints and I feel horrendous. Next day I feel rough.
That's what I mean. I can't do it to myself no more. When you're used to putting good stuff in your body, I think your body rejects that. It's like a poison. But do you know what? After this competition, I'll be out. I'll go out for a bit. I'll maybe go somewhere for a few days.
Steady one.
Good. Do you know what it is? My thing is, I don't have no middle ground. I'm full on with everything. So if I'm out, I'm out. If I'm training, I'm training. And I think that's why I've sort of zeroed in on the training. I finally found something that, you know, it means something to me. And like, I know it's what's got me good and got me better. And like, I jump out of bed at 5 a.m. Like, I could never imagine doing that before. Like, and if you'd have asked me a few years ago, if that, you know, this morning, like before you come and grab me, like before we come down here, I thought, well, I'm going to get up early at 4:45 a.m. Alarm's gone. I'm up. I'm having a coffee and I'm in the gym.
I think what's important as well is I think that too many people don't have a focus. They have nothing that they want to do. They have nothing that they want to strive to be better at. Whether that's going to the gym, whether that's at work, whether that's been a better dad, whether that's anything that you want to be better at. Too many people don't have that, and I think a lot of people that I know that struggle with things like addiction and things like that, the amount of people they speak to that do it out of boredom because they're sat there, they're bored and they have nothing to do. And so go to the gym, go do some active, go for a run. Oh, they aren't doing that. So they just sat there.
Yeah, but if they like you say, if they use that energy they had on going to score a bag or going to go get off the red or whatever, if they use that energy that they use to chase that into something productive, I feel like everything else in your life starts to sort of align. I felt like even like things would happen during my sentence, and I was training all the time, and I sort of like, I was at a point in my sentence, like, I look back, I thought, well, done nearly 2 years, but I thought, still got nearly 3 to go. Like, I'm nowhere, I'm not even halfway. I was having a bit of a day where I was down, and I was thinking, how am I gonna do this? Like,
so on your, when coming to your second sentence, that was 3 years after. Take me back to when you got caught for your second sentence. What happened there?
That was mine of that. That was a really short sentence. I was there was an altercation at a house I was living at. I was in a shared house in York, and there was an altercation, and it was nothing to do with me actually. It was someone that I lived with. There was I was asleep on the sofa. I'd been in the pub. I was pissed, and there was people in the house ballied up, and obviously see my mate having an altercation, and obviously so I weighed in, and these got run out the house. They ended up jumping in the car outside. I ended up putting the windows out with a baseball bat. I think my mate had a blade on him, and obviously was giving him it. But the neighbours had called the police regarding these people that turned up. So police were on the scene. I just remember looking around over there, and there was armed police.
Locked you up?
Well, I had red dots on me, you see, and I had a weapon, and they were telling me to drop the weapon. I'm saying, nah, you're not fucking listening to me, mate. Blah, blah, blah. There's been a conversation with this officer, and he just shot me with taser.
What did that feel like getting tasered?
First shot was all right. It's when the second one come in, because obviously, like, the first shot sort of just immobilised me, but I was still standing. And then the second shot...
Feeling like Scarface at that time?
I didn't feel like anything. I was like that rigid. I still had the back of my hand, and saw other one, bam, it's just pranged us with it, and that was it, flat out, mate, on my back. And I remember him jumping on me, and they were just kneeing me in the head. They were twist. These armed police don't mess about when you want to wrap up. Yeah, I remember getting out of the cells the next day, and I remember obviously the doctor comes and checks you over in the cells when you've been tasered. He's like, "What the fuck's happened to you?" And I remember getting out the cells and been bedbound for about 3-4 days due to they'd put my body in positions it wasn't meant to go in, and they was wrapping me up. And my body was just, I'll never forget it, man. It was, yeah. So like, thanks to North Yorkshire Police for that one. That was a good experience. That.
So how long did you get for that one?
I didn't get jailed off the bat, but due to the circumstances surrounding the fact none of them made statements who were in the house against us due to the fact that they shouldn't have been there. It was a good mitigation for me. I said, well, there's no complaint. There's no case to answer if they've not made a complaint against us. So it's just a matter of me getting tasered. And they were saying it's an affray because there was fear in the public. It's public, inciting fear in the public is what like the definition of affray is. So I got community service, and I said to the judge, look, I'm not trying to be funny with you, mate. Yeah, I am picking up litter with nonsense, mate. So can we just do something else? Can we do some custodial?
So would you prefer to do a sentence at that point?
Well, this is what happened. This is how it went down. So obviously, it's going to be 250 hours. I said, you're not listening to me. I'm not doing them hours. So I didn't do any hours, and I got dragged back to court. And then the judge went, look, this is your last opportunity. I'm going to give you 50 more hours. I was saying to my solicitor, tell him I'm not fucking doing them. I was like, you're not fucking listening to me, mate. I was like, I'm not doing these. Am I not fucking making myself clear? I've packed a bag. I'm ready to go. Just activate the suspended sentence. So obviously I got a suspended sentence, and I got the hours.
Do you think that was because, though, as well? Obviously, you've done your first sentence. So on your first...
Asked me, yeah.
On your
and I knew I was
first
short,
sentence...
I knew I won't be in for
That's
no
what I'm saying.
period at night.
On your first sentence, because you went in then and you didn't find it that bad, coming on to your second sentence, if that had been your first sentence, or whatever's case of what you're going to have to do to...
I'd have been picking up litter when nonsense was best picking up litter.
Yeah, you'd have been there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, living it. But all 300, and then all 300 hours. So I gave me the 300 hours, didn't do any hours, back to court, wanted for a bit. I was wanted, that's when I was pulled over. I made it onto telly at that time. I got pulled over while I was wanted.
Yeah, take us through that. That was traffic cops on it.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it pop up. Obviously,
I mean, I was wanted, and I was getting about, and obviously I was still, I was still selling the sniff, so there was I had some sniff on me, a few bagged up, and a big, like maybe a bag with a Z in it or whatever, and because I was wanted, my mate lent me his van. I was getting about, it was on them old Astra vans, the 1.7s.
I remember seeing it.
Yeah, felt
I can take it back now.
So I'm getting about in that. And then I'm coming out of York City Centre, and a lass's rang me. I think she's after scoring, and I think I was probably going to fucking shag her as well. But I don't know what was on the cards. I couldn't tell you because we never got that far.
Right.
So I was coming out of York, and I seen the next 5 behind me unmarked. I knew what the crack was. I said to this girl, "Look, these are going to pull me here, and I'm wanted." So, and she's saying, "Oh, you just pass me your stuff." She said. I said, "Yeah." She said, "I'll plug it." I said, "Sweet." So just take it home, and I'll just some kind of obviously. Couple grand cash on me yesterday. I take that as well. Take yourself, get yourself, sort yourself out a little thing. I wasn't bothered about the money. I wasn't bothered about the drugs. I was bothered about not getting caught with them at that time. So anyway, I got lit up by him. I got pulled over, and then as I've been pulled over, and the police officers come to the window, I've seen a bright light shine through the front, the windscreen of the van, and a man saying, "Traffic cops, do you give consent to be filmed?" I was like. I was like, tell him to fuck off. I was like, yo, fuck off. Like, anyway,
is that what they do? They ask for consent.
Yeah, that's why my face is blurred out because I told him to fuck off. Obviously, like I thought, obviously, everyone knows who it is. You know what I mean? Everyone knows it was me. Yeah. So the cop was talking to me, saying, "Look, what's your name?" And I know I've been on run for a bit. I wasn't trying to blag it. I said, "Yo," I told him the details. He went, "Yeah." He went, "You know, you're outstanding, wanted." And I said, "Yeah." I was hoping you didn't. I was having a bit of banter. He cuffed us up. He's saying to her, "Oh, you can go." And she's just talking the most shit, this girl, yeah. This girl called Hayley, you'll all know, anyone from York will know her. Because she's a grass, on national telly. But, I don't hold a grudge, you know what I mean? Like, that was her decision to do that.
She turned around, didn't she? And she was like, "This is his stuff, have it, take it."
She's saying that I told her to plug it, mate. I mean, I had nothing to hide from anyone, have I? Like, I didn't tell her to plug fuck all. Like, she was the one going on bad, and she'd the one that'd been to jail. So I thought maybe she's half staunch, she's probably gonna be all right here. The cop wasn't even interested in her till she opened her mouth. Like, she wasn't ever gonna get searched. She made that for herself, and then as soon as that got put on the table, "Look, we're gonna search you both."
He turned around, didn't he? He turned around on the thing and was like, "This is a first for me."
Yeah,
on the episode, he says, "I've never had this happen."
Someone does your job for you. I wasn't asked. I was having a laugh. I was laughing like
you turned around and said, "Better get yourself a good solicitor."
Yeah, she's obviously. I think she thought that's her get out of jail free card. Just grasp me up at side of the road and walk away. Well, you just pulled out your fucking pants, you divvy. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, like, we did all right. Like, I didn't get done for that one. We did all right out of that one. Just due to her actions. Like, she was a cooperating witness. It made it to magistrates, but there wasn't enough. I didn't meet the threshold to be able to put the large bag of sniff on me. I had to plead guilty to individual wrap that was under my seat, which was a gram.
So you didn't get any time at all for that one?
No, because it was just it was a possession for the gram. I didn't get done for the large bag. I think during the time she was on bail, she was arrested with possession or something. Which wouldn't have made her a very good witness for me on trial.
That helped you, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was specifically the reason or whether it just didn't. There just wasn't enough evidence. Like, I didn't really. I had a bag packed. I was thinking, yo, I'm trying to get the best out of this. It was at magistrates. They can only give you a year at this time. I'm saying my solicitor, tell them I'll do a year for that bag. You know what I mean? Obviously, it was always going to go to Crown if they had enough evidence on that. Right. But we were lucky, man. I got a £600 fine for the gram.
600 quid fine.
Yeah, it was a heavy fine. Yeah, it was a heavy. I think they were giving me the most they could give me. Like,
so was that not a wake up call at that point to you to sort of say, "Listen, this is not going the way it should be," and I've been caught a few times here now?
I mean, obviously, I was on for that for ages. I was on bail for that for ages because obviously I was wanted. So I went to prison from there to serve what I owed them.
Oh, so you had to go back for that previous one straight away?
Yeah, well, I was pulled because I was wanted, so I went to jail for that suspended sentence.
Right. Okay.
So
what is it you were wanted for?
I was outstanding for the not doing the community service.
Of course, yeah.
Yes, so did the sentence for that, got out, then a few years later, back on bang court for this.
Straight away.
Yeah. But and then obviously I was all right. Did sound out of that, and then that was it till 2020. I didn't go back till 2020 then.
And then in 2020, were you straight back? Once you got released, were you straight back on what you were doing?
Yeah.
Or was it a case of you're the most unlucky person ever to have stopped and then you're straight back on it and then you're straight call again?
So obviously that was like 2018. I served that time for the suspended sentence and I was out. And then obviously I wasn't jailed again until 2020, but I was active, you know what I mean? I was doing it. But 2020 came and I mean, this one, I didn't even actually really do out here. It was more, my friend, there was an incident involving someone got stabbed. And then my mate was obviously locked up and remanded for that. Obviously, I made a phone call to the victim of the crime. I basically just offered him some money. I wouldn't have said I put pressure on him. He was in LGI in intensive care. I felt like I was pretty friendly with it. I was offering quite a lot of money at the time, a good few grand. I think it was 10 grand. Just to redact any statements and to not talk to no police. This lad was someone who sold drugs, talked about doing all this and that. So you would have thought
they'd have been quite happy to accept your offer.
He'd have kept his fucking mouth shut, money or no money. Like he wouldn't. If something happened to me today, and even though I don't live that life no more, if something happened to me and I ended up in hospital, you wouldn't have to ring me and offer me money. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be speaking to the police regardless. But I thought it's just obviously it was a third strike from a mate, so he was looking at life on a section 18. Do you know what I mean? So it was a serious situation. He was touch and go at some points, but when he was awake, I knew he was going to be all right. So I thought now it's time to set the wheels in motion, see if I can get my mate bust out. Unfortunately for me, he didn't like what I was putting down. He was probably scared, you know what I mean, and I understand that, but he was sat with 2 armed police at his bedside, and I was on speaker, so...
So that was it.
Yeah,
I bet they couldn't believe it, could they? When they were sat next to you, answer that phone.
I couldn't fucking believe it when I was in bed that night and all red dots come through the window and it was absolute madness. Because obviously I didn't think what I'd done was bad, right? So I get dragged out of bed in the middle of the night. I'm sitting to the bed, I'll be back in the morning sort of thing,
Yeah.
And I got to the station and my solicitor saying, "You're not going home in the morning, you fucking mental." He said, "You're off to jail, mate." I said, "What?" I was like, "Eh?" It's like, "You're getting remanded, mate." He's like, "This is serious, Ciaran, this is really serious what you're doing." And I was like, he's like, "It's a witness intimidation." I went, "It's more of a blackmail," isn't it? He went, "Listen, mate, it's a witness intimidation and that's what's going to fly." But it was great timing for me, really, that, because it was the height of COVID and, there was some heavy discounts getting slapped on. So, I mean, I put my guilty in straight away, 33%. And I think I got either 10 or 15% on top, which took what would have been quite a heavy sentence, basically 50% off that.
So that's what they were doing with COVID times. They were knocking sentences.
It was at the judge's discretion, but most people would get some form of discount, 5, 10, 15%. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, which is great. Because due to the lack of... there's a lack of sunlight, lack of time out your cell, lack of visits, phone call. I mean, if you weren't about that and you've never been to prison and that was your first experience of it, I could see that breaking a few people. It was naughty, like.
So you had a lot of time in your cell?
Yes, padded up as well, aren't you? You're in something they call cohorts, which is groups of... So you used to get on the yard. So one day you'd get a shower for 20 minutes. The next day, so you're in your cohort, which is like a group of like, depending on the prison, but 5 to 10 of you. So a couple of pads worth. That's one day you get a shower, 20 minutes. And the next day you get 20 minutes yard.
And that's it?
And some days, obviously, if it rained or whatever, the yard was cancelled, you finished, you're not getting the yard.
How was everyone coping inside there then? At that time, were people really starting to struggle?
Yeah,
was there a lot of self-harm and things like that?
It was skyrocketed. Absolutely.
People not getting
people
out of the
cracking up. Yeah, people cracking up. It was, and obviously, if it hit the wing, COVID, it was just everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then they're just banging. Like, we was on Spurs when it was flying about. I was in Lindholm at the time when I'd been sentenced, so it was like 2021. That was my next sentence. It was still COVID. I was only out 7 months, so it was still COVID. Everywhere you went, you had to isolate.
Was there problems with spice in that then as well?
There's always been problems with spice. Because my first sentence was different because this spice was a new thing, yeah, and it wasn't. Nowadays it's on paper, so people smoke the paper.
Yeah.
But back then it was sort of like green. It looked like weed that's ground up. I mean, it was sold to us. This is like weed. This is like an alter. I know a few of the boys, like, and a few lads will tell you, anyone that's done a bit of jail, that like it was commonplace for people to smoke it, like the lads, and then obviously people just started dropping. It was stigmatized pretty quickly. I mean, it used to be subby in jail that was the big thing. And obviously, the spice took over, mate.
When I worked in the high security prison, I remember seeing this con before. There was crying on the floor, you know, some big time con crying on the floor for his mum because he'd been on spice, and that's the effects it obviously has on people. And I was thinking, just thinking of it's COVID and that people are behind the cell doors and things are. People have got things like spice on their cell doors, and
it was a heavy commodity. If you had that, you was doing well. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously it was harder to get things because visits was off and the hard time was limited. So a lot of it was coming in other ways, which was obviously a bit more touch and go. Do you know what I mean?
So how long did you end up doing on that one?
I was in 2020. I was in most of the year. I come out in November. I ended up doing most of the year, and I come out at the end. I come out in November, and I mean, I was only out 7 months that time.
And then straight back in bother again.
Yeah, well, I was under obs from when I got out.
What sort of conditions were you getting?
My conditions,
were they tough?
Not at that time. They were all right. I was obviously had the restraining order off the victim of the attack. My conditions weren't bad. I wasn't allowed to go certain places, but like it wasn't out heavy. I was allowed tag and stuff like that, but it was like really like 2021. The sentence I've just come out for, that was.
So how long was it before you got am I right in saying you got 2 sentences more or less together? You got one, didn't you? And then there was another one waiting.
Yeah, so I got 2020. That was the witness intimidation, and I was out for 7 months, and I was on this conspiracy. And whilst at the same time as the conspiracy, previous to this, whilst I'd been out, an incident had happened in town.
Was that one, the incident in town, was that before the conspiracy?
Yeah, and it was.
So you were waiting for that one?
Yeah. I was waiting for that. Yeah. So the incident in Lehman Road. That was like.
Talk us through that one.
There's not really much.
As much as you can.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really much to talk about in that particular situation. I mean, I was really lucky, really, with how it played out for me, and one of my other co-defendants. We was willing to take it all the way to trial, and we was offered good. The evidence to me was pretty flimsy on my behalf, but basically, long and short of it, someone was attacked in the home on Lehman Road. Someone we knew, someone I knew for years, who was a friend to me. Just done a few things he shouldn't have done, or it was all drugs related, sort of.
It was firearms involved, wasn't there? There was something.
It was a blank firing gun. They'll call it a firearm, but yeah.
I remember seeing them.
Fired blanks, yeah. But I mean, obviously, I had no knowledge of any firearm, and I had no knowledge of attack. Do you know, part of my basis of plea was I wasn't in the house. I mean, they're saying I had to plead to the fact that I had knowledge of an attack, but I wasn't not obviously aware of how severe the attack was going to be. And obviously, like I say, that's I'll stand on that. I didn't actually. I will to this day not know what actually happened in the gaff.
So were you expecting to go down for it? Or
Yeah, I knew I was getting big jail.
You knew
how
long were you saying you were
off the bat, they were saying like 10, 12 years.
Is that what there was, 10, 12 years?
I'd already been in the 2 years for the... I was already serving 10 years for the... Well, I was serving 7.5 for the conspiracy, and then obviously I had to finish a recall, so serving 8 years for the conspiracy.
What happened with the conspiracy?
I was just under observation as soon as I got out, and obviously me and my co-defendant, well, there was a few of us to be fair, but me and my pal, who's like, we were the lead roles in this particular situation. We were just supplying certain others in the York area. So they kind of got the full network by watching us. They got the courier from the northwest.
So it was just
they were watching the courier. They was watching the courier come, bringing the packages from the northwest. They were watching exchanges of money and drugs basically for a period of time. And then,
was that one on Traffic Cops as well?
No,
I was thinking. I thought
that's the one that would have been better on telly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought there was some of that one. Was on. I remember seeing a video of it.
I'm not. Yeah, it was probably on the press website. There
Was it?
Yeah, they
I
filmed
remember
some shit for it. Yeah,
thinking they got you famous on here.
Few
They
body.
got you a few. A few.
I think it's my co-defendant getting ran down. by a dog.
He's getting chased. Isn't
And
he?
me just in the van, like, I got bouncing my phone off the dashboard, trying to smash
You
it.
just stood there, didn't you?
Yeah, well, obviously, he had the stuff on him, so I was letting him get off. So I swung it into the hedge so he could get down that embankment. I was sweet, me, like, I had now on me, mate. I was happy to just whatever, but obviously
Whatever was coming was coming.
the amount of units that was there, it was game time for them. Like they don't roll up on you like that for no reason. It wasn't you. Obviously they rammed me anyway, so I'd come to a stop. Then the X5s come ram me, wrote my van off. He got grabbed anyway. Stuff got found, and then obviously they just cell site data and stuff like that. It was just a matter of.
So how long did you get on that?
I got 7.5 years.
So you got 7.5 on
Well,
that.
I got 10 years and I got 25% for a guilty plea.
Right.
So it took me down to 7.5, but I had a bit of dead time. Obviously, I had recall to finish from my sentence in 2020. So I probably worked out about 8 years for the Lehman Road incident. I got 14-month consecutive, so that took me to just over 9 years, 4 months, or whatever it was.
So how much had changed from your first prison sentence to that prison sentence? Has anything changed when you were inside?
In terms of what?
Drug problems, so violence inside, mental health.
It's hard to tell me because you've sort of got the blinkers on, but obviously it all sort of blurs into like one really. The sentences I've done, you see the same things happening. Drugs will always be there. There'll always be violence. You know, that's just commonplace, isn't it? Like that's every jail. Some jails have more than others, so some jails have more violence. Some jails have more drugs, but it depends on the prison. Do you know?
So did you get a lot of support when you were in there from family? Or
Yeah,
your
family were great. Yeah, family was like, you know, I do you know what it is? Some people rely too heavily upon family when you're in prison. I feel like they need to hold on to that contact. Like, any of my family will tell you, I used to ring my mum once a week, quick catch up. Everyone used to hammer credit on the phones, on the pin phones. I'd put £3 a week on. If I wanted to get on my daughter and that, I'd just FaceTime her. Do you know what I mean? Like, I won't sit on they'd listen to all the calls anyway, so there's no.
So how long did you end up getting in there? How long did you do before you were out?
So it was great, really. Again, it's great timing. COVID was great timing, and this was even better timing. Turned out we've got a bit of a problem with the prison system at the minute with prisoner spaces. So while serving, I'm still meant to be in prison now, to be honest. I was going to get out 3rd of December this year.
Right.
However, they took 10% off sentences, so you're serving 40%. Obviously, I had to serve 50% of that, all my sentences together. I had to serve half that time. Then, because the jails were so full, the government brought in the certain offences, mine included, serve 40% of that time.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And then on top of that, they up-tagged to 6 months.
So some people who are getting nowadays, for example, doing 10 years.
Yeah, I got 14 months off my sentence overnight.
It's crazy, isn't it, really? And they wonder why now there's problems on the street. And
well, to be honest, not that I am, but I wouldn't recommend anyone committing crimes. But if you are looking to go out and do something, now would be the time, because they've increased that. They're looking at a third. So people committing certain offences only serve a third of the sentences, and even for violence, half. So Cat D's been up to 5 years. I mean, it's mental. You can be sentenced, and then that day. You'd be the day you hit the wing, you could be eligible for your Cat D, really. Like, I mean, they want a certain period of time out of you in close conditions, but you know the turnaround time, the need is out the door.
Yeah, it's mental, to be fair. So now, obviously, I picked you up this morning. You were bang at it doing your circuits. I know you always are. I see all videos you're putting on all the time. You're doing it. What is it? Is it High Rocks?
High Rocks, yeah.
High Rocks. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Well, obviously during my sentence, those that I didn't train, I found the fitness to be probably the best medicine for me, like, in terms of just keeping positive. Anyone around me will tell you that I've served with, I was always that positive, and I think that's what kept me positive. So getting out, I just carried that momentum, and then someone saw that. A coach from York, Adam, he dropped me a message. He said, "Look, why don't you come have a go at this? I'm putting this class on. It's High Rocks. I've never heard of this High Rocks, me. Heard about CrossFit and stuff. We used to do the bar circuits when we was away, and I used to do a lot of running. I've run a few marathons while I was inside for charity and stuff like that. We've done a few good things, like, so I had an element of fitness there. He's saying this is the ultimate functional, like, fitness test. This is hybrid training, which is basically cardiovascular, strength, a mixture of the two. So I've been able to run fast kilometres and been able to move a sled that weighs 150 kilos. Do you know what I mean?
How are you keeping motivated? Because I know for myself, I'd sort of go to the gym twice and I'm like, I feel great. And then next thing, I can't go.
I feel like my mood's massively affected if I don't train. It gives me sort of a clarity, you know, like I don't think I'd be able to come here this morning and talk like so concisely if I hadn't trained. I feel like I needed to train, to get my head clear, you know. It's a great start to the day. I feel like I've got energy that I didn't have when I opened my eyes, you know.
Have you got the right people around you now as well? Then?
Yeah, I've got a coach.
Instead of having these negative people around you that
Absolutely.
want to drag you into the wrong thing,
Yeah.
have you got the right people for you?
I mean, as a rule, yeah, I've got my coach. He's a decent fella, and we go all over. I mean, I've been to Glasgow to compete high rocks. I've been to London. I've competed down the road in Wakefield on a separate fitness event with my pal. We've just qualified some championships at the end of the year, so I have a good benchmark of fitness now, and that's thanks to them. And also, like people I will fuck with now are very few, especially in York, because the amount of people that didn't bother with me when I was away and didn't want to know when the chips were down, that just shows to me what people are about. The people that bothered with me are the people I have respect for, are the people I'll chill with.
You need
I
to
only
be
chill
positive
with
people.
in reality, I only chill with 2 kids out from my town now, in my spare time. There's a few from out of town. They're people I met in prison.
Yeah,
And
good
that's
people as well.
Good people that have, they're people that live a different life now. They've done what they've done. They live a different life, and you know, I'll go up to Manchester for fitness competitions. These are people, like-minded people that want the same thing as me. They've got goals. Yeah,
It's what you need around you. People with the same goals.
Exactly. So I think everything's sort of aligned this time. I felt like I used to have people around me for whatever fucking reason. I don't know why. I used to think I have to have people around me to be popular or to be like, and really I don't care about all that. Like, as long as my family,
You need the right people around you.
as long as my family and people I respect and you know, I call my friends, respect me and you know, think I'm good stuff, I'll be happy, you know.
So you're doing your personal training now, are you?
Yeah, I've just started
So
at
let's
level
come on
3.
to that.
I don't know. People peck me head about it. Why don't you do this? And I got a few messages on Facebook off certain people that we went to school with. Are you doing personal training? Are you doing anything? And like, my mate's got a boxing gym in York, and he lets us go down. And you know, we've got a key for there. Can go any time. We'll just slap a £5 on side for him. And I've got free run at the gym, so I'll put classes on. Like for my mate this morning, I write all the sessions out. You know, I feel like I'm doing it already, but I thought, why aren't I actually doing it? Do you know what I mean? Why am I not? If this is something that makes me so happy, why aren't I doing it?
Absolutely.
So-
Couldn't agree more, mate. If this is something you're motivated towards, and obviously you're well involved in your fitness, you're happy doing it. At the end of the day, if you're going to be doing a job that you love, that's what it's all about. It keeps you mentally good as well, and keeps you in
It's
the right
helping
place.
others, mate, as well. I think it's like, it'd be good to do something positive for people. Do you know, like I'm just going to try and make people make a change like I've made. Do you know, I can relate to like, and you know, if the chips are down on for people, I can relate to that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
I've been in some dark places, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have. Yeah. I think how far you've come, mate.
Yeah.
From when you was 18, 19-year-old, from getting that first sentence to how I'm looking at you right now, you know, you seem in a really good path, man. It's really good to see.
I
What would you
appreciate
say to people that are going down the path that you was when you was 18-year-old?
I mean, some people won't be told, and I can imagine me trying to tell 18, 19-year-old me about going down the wrong path. I'd tell him to shut up. I'd tell him to shut the fuck up. You know, you think you know better at that age, but I've got lived experience, like, and a lot of people in my shoes will say the same. Like, do you know, it's a different breed now. There's a different generation. They're all doing different shit. They're all, you know, everyone's stabbing life out of each other, and they won't listen to all that. It's all. The landscape's changed, even in our city now. It's different.
Yeah,
It's very much different times. But if I could. If there's all I could say to anyone, it's just be ready to, if you want to live that life, live it. Like, if you want to go do them things, do it, but just be ready to spend your life sat in jail.
Yeah.
And as fun as it is, yeah, you're going to miss out on everything. That, you know, I could have had another kidney, I could have, all the holidays I've missed deaths in the family. You know, I've let people down massively, like financial burden on your family. Like, if you're all right with that, and you're all right doing that to your family, then you're a bit of a scumbag. If you're out selling drugs and you've got loads of money and you think, right, I've made millions off of this, and I'm going to go do 5 years, but my family's set for life. Fair play to you, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Can't
I
knock
agree
you.
with that.
That's why you do it. I didn't sell drugs to be cool.
Yeah.
It's all I wanted to do, mate.
Yeah,
And it didn't play out like that, did it? Because I didn't end up with anything.
No.
So,
But listen, you're moving forward now.
yeah, life's good, man.
Missus.
Yeah.
It's great to see, mate. Keep
Appreciate
on with your fitness.
Yeah.
You're doing really well, mate. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you
Cheers,
for having me, brother.
Cheers, guys.
Nice.